When you think of Nazi death camps, you likely imagine large gas chambers and mass graves. Yet long before these fixed facilities existed, an ordinary cargo truck, an everyday workhorse of wartime logistics, was transformed into a mobile killing machine. These were the gas vans, freight trucks whose cargo holds were sealed and filled with engine exhaust, converting them into rolling exhaustion chamber. In this video, we will examine the chilling origins and deployment of the gas van at Sachsenhausen and their killing sites between 1941 and 1942. How did the SS progress from testing carbon monoxide on psychiatric patients to murdering thousands in trucks? What the vans look like? How did they operate? Most important, how did this method of mobile mass murder lay the groundwork for the later industrialized genocide? Prepare yourself, this is one of the darkest mechanical conversions in human history. In mid 1940, Nazi doctors and engineers launched a program known as Action T4, designed to kill people with mental or physical disabilities. Early methods, shooting or lethal injection, proved insufficient and emotionally taxing for those who carried them out. They needed a method that was quick, discreet, and less messy. By late 1940, at facilities such as Grafneck and Hedmar, medical staff and engineers developed a new technique, retrofitting ordinary cargo trucks to serve as mobile gas chambers. They seal the truck's cargo hold, reinforcing walls, floors, and doors with metal plates and rubber gaskets to prevent any gas from escaping. Then they attached a hose from the truck's exhaust pipe into the sealed compartment. When the engine idled, carbon monoxide gas from the exhaust filled the back of the truck, suffocating everyone inside within 20 minutes. Victims, often dozen at a time, were forced into the cargo hold. Guards closed the door and started the engine. Carbon monoxide filled the space. Through a small peephole, the guards observed as prisoners collapsed. When the engine was turned off, the drivers would proceed to the crematorium to have the bodies incinerated or buried. By the end of 1940, thousands of patients at these euthanasia centers had already been murdered in this way. The trucks themselves looked noxious, plain gray paint with no military or political markings. They simply arrived at dawn, idle and departed as though delivering goods, except that they carried dead inside. By mid 1941, Nazi authorities decided to adapt these gas vans for use in concentration camps as a part of even more a plan of extermination. Sachsenhausen, located just north of Berlin, was one of the first camps to receive a gas van. Established in 1936 to hold political prisoners, Sachsenhausen's function evolved over time to include forced labor detainees, Soviet prisoners of war, and Jews from occupied territories. In summer 1941, the first gas van arrived at Sachsenhausen under cover of darkness. Only a few trusted SS officers knew of its true purpose. Each morning at approximately 4 o'clock, a small team of guards would gather a group of prisoners, often Soviet soldiers or inmates deemed unfit for work, and order them into the rear compartment of the truck. The prisoners believed that they were being relegated to a new work facility. Instead, guards locked the door and drivers started the engine, allowing carbon monoxide to flood the compartment. The SS targeted those perceived as weak or expendable, elderly men, visibly ill women, children, and Soviet military prisoners who would not be used for forced labors. Once the engine ran, the van stood idle for roughly 20 minutes. Guards watched from a small peephole, only visible to them, until there was no further movement inside. After the victims were confirmed dead, the driver restarted the engine and drove to the camp crematorium or a mass gravesite. Prisoners assigned to the forced labor removed the corpses for cremation or burial. Often no records identified the victims. Their ashes were thrown into a pit or incinerated without ceremony. By March 1942, Sachsenhausen records indicate that more than 2,000 men and women had been killed in this gas van. News of this efficient method spread quickly to other camps, including Kelno in occupied Poland, where similar vans were used to murder Jewish communities before fixed extermination facilities were constructed. From the exterior, the gas vans appear to be simple transport vehicles, no Nazi insignia, no visible modifications, but inside they were lethal machines. The cargo hold walls were lined with metal plates, rubber gaskets sealed all edges, including door seams. Guards locked the door from the outside. A metal or reinforced rubber hose connected the truck's exhaust manifold directly to the rear compartment. Engineers often disabled the air filter and adjusted the engine's throttle setting to produce a higher concentration of carbon monoxide. Depending on the model and size, each van carried between 50 and 100 prisoners per trip. Men, women, and children were packed in tightly. Blankets and small personal belongings were often forced in alongside them. Small round peephole, about the size of fist, allowed guards to observe the inside of compartment. Through this hole, they confirmed the victim's death before moving on to body removal. Because these vans were mobile, they could be driven between camps or to remote execution sites. This mobility allowed the SS to kill discreetly and reallocate bodies without drawing attention. For the prisoners, the sound of the gas van arriving at dawn brought paralyzing terror. They knew that those selected for transport might never return, a Polish forced laborer recalled. When we heard the truck's engine, we feared the worst. Men and women were taken in the dark, and often we never saw them again. The worst was hearing the engine idle at dawn, while you lay in your bunk, wondering if your name would be called next. For the guards, the van represented a clean way to kill, without blood or direct violence. Many later testified that loading victims and driving them to the crematorium was far easier to endure than physically shooting or beating them. Behind the sealed doors, those inside suffered in silence. Guards remained detached, watching a small peephole until everyone inside collapsed. There were no demands for discharge of ammunition, no exposed gore, only the hum of engine and the muffled creaks of bodies slumping to the floor. By mid 1942, the gas vans had proven effective, but were still limited by mobility and capacity. Nazi leadership decided that fixed gas chambers within camps would allow for even larger scale killings. In 1943, Sachsenhausen built a structure known as Station Z, which housed a stationary carbon monoxide chamber and four crematorium ovens. The stationary chamber borrowed lesson learned from the vans, sealed metal rooms, direct pipe connection to bottle carbon monoxide, and adjacent furnaces to dispose of bodies. Although gas vans continued to operate as smaller camps, Station Z marked a move toward full industrialized genocide. Mass killing no longer confined to a truck, but carried out within permanent facilities. The gas vans at Sachsenhausen and other early sites stand as grim testament to how technology can be corrupted when ideology overrides humanity. These mobile killing units were prototype for the larger extermination camps that followed. By converting ordinary trucks into execution chambers, gases demonstrated that mass murder could be mechanized, silent, and hidden from the public view. After the war, another investigator uncovered SS documents, blueprints, and survivor testimonies that confirmed the existence and function of gas vans. During the Nuremberg trials, subsequent proceedings, SS officers and camp administrators describe how they had loaded, driven, and watched victims die inside these vans. Testimony helped secure convictions and ensure that the world could never claim ignorance of this atrocity. Today, whenever a cargo truck rolls down a highway, it is difficult to imagine that the same design once carried men, women, and children to their deaths. The gas man reminds us that technology itself is neutral. Its moral value depends entirely on those who wield it. A cargo truck is meant to transport goods, supplies, and sometimes families. Yet during those dark years, as Sachsenhausen, identical trucks carried human beings to their deaths. The gas vans were one of the first steps in Nazi's regime descent into industrialized genocide. Let this story serve as a sober reminder: ordinary objects can become tools of terror when moral constraints vanish.